Bitcoin represents the most powerful technology force for conservatism in the world. And I don't know that that's fully appreciated, but Satoshi, many years ago, had this vision for sound money and sovereign money via technology, via modern cryptography, modern semiconductors, the modern internet. And that idea of giving economic power to the individual in the face of the overwhelming power of the collective, when you feel like the government's against you, the banking system against you, the currency is against you, big tech is against you, when you're the little guy, when you're struggling for freedom.
If you think the Bitcoin crash is the end, think again. The markets are plummeting, panic is spreading, and everyone's screaming that the sky is falling. But here's the truth that no one wants you to hear. This crash isn't the death of Bitcoin, it's the catalyst for its explosive rise. The crash is happening right now, and while the world flails, Bitcoin is setting itself up for the ultimate comeback. MicroStrategy CEO, Michael Saylor, the man who's been telling you this was coming, is all in on Bitcoin, and he's not backing down. According to him, Bitcoin isn't just a hedge against inflation, it's the financial weapon of the future. As traditional systems crumble under the weight of debt and corruption, Bitcoin is the one currency that can't be manipulated, devalued, or destroyed. It's sovereign money, a system built to empower individuals and break free from the grip of governments and bankers. And while everyone else is selling in fear, Robert Kiyosaki is making his move. The man who predicted the 2008 crash isn't panicking, he's rather doubling down. In his latest tweet post on X, he explained, "When Bitcoin crashes, he'll back up the truck and buy even more." Why? Because he knows something the average investor doesn't. When the everything bubble finally bursts, Bitcoin is going to be the fastest asset to recover. It's not just going to bounce back, it's going to skyrocket, reaching new all-time highs faster than anything else in the market. So, what's Kiyosaki's plan after the crash? Simple: buy more Bitcoin, hold steady, and ride the wave of recovery. While others panic and sell off their assets, he's preparing to capitalize on the biggest opportunity of his career. It's not about short-term gains, it's about long-term freedom. For Kiyosaki, the crash is just the beginning of Bitcoin's rise. Let's watch clips from Michael Saylor's interview to gain more insight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for additional in-depth content. Thanks for joining us again. Enjoy the video.
Bitcoin represents the most powerful technology force for conservatism in the world. And I don't know that that's fully appreciated, but Satoshi, many years ago, had this vision for sound money and sovereign money via technology, via modern cryptography, modern semiconductors, the modern internet. And that idea of giving economic power to the individual in the face of the overwhelming power of the collective, when you feel like the government's against you, the banking system against you, the currency is against you, big tech is against you, when you're the little guy, when you're struggling for freedom and struggling in the face of overwhelming power, you need some advantage. And Satoshi created this network that's based on two principles. One principle is integrity, and the other principle is sovereignty. The integrity, we all know, is there'll never be more than 21 million Bitcoin, and that's enforced by millions and millions of computers and hundreds of millions of people everywhere in the world that believe it's not okay to lie, cheat, or steal. It's not okay to distort the truth. There is a truth. There is a universal common ledger that no one can tamper with, no one can corrupt. Not a nation state, not a company, not a politician. And that idea of a censorship-resistant, unstoppable version of the truth was a first in human history.
It was a first.
And then the second idea is sovereignty. It's like, well, if there is a truth, can you own it? right? So with Bitcoin, the idea is you can own a Bitcoin and you don't have to trust a bank with it. You don't have to trust the city with it. You don't have to leave it in the custody of a big company. You can take self-custody. So we oftentimes say, what do you own? The only thing you own are your memories. Everything else in this world that you own at the pleasure of someone more powerful than you, and they can take it away from you via force. What they can't take away from you is your experience and what's in your head. And the brilliance of Satoshi was, what if we could put all of the money in the world into the heads of the people? What if what you knew was the password to unlock all of your wealth or protect it, and nobody else could take it away from you? And that's a profound shift, because what Satoshi did was gave us a network where hundreds of millions of people can own and control their economic energy in a censorship-resistant, unstoppable fashion. And that was an idea worth nothing for a year, and then it became worth $1 million, and then it became worth $1 billion, and then it became worth $10 billion, and then it became worth $100 billion. And when MicroStrategy, now Strategy, got into business about 4 years ago, it was worth $150 billion. And today it's worth $2 trillion.
And at that time, you were a software company, and you saw this as an opportunity, a different opportunity.
We were a software company, and we were staring at a quick death or slow death or take a risk. And, you know, when the COVID lockdowns took place and the interest rates went to zero, we had to decide, were we going to sell the company, throw in the towel, or could we find a way out? And this is the challenge that 40 million companies in America have, which is, if you're not one of the Magnificent Seven, if you're not Apple or Google or Microsoft, how are you supposed to compete in a world where trillion-dollar companies have all the power, big banks have all the power, big government has the power? And Bitcoin offered us the way out, because if you recapitalize a company on Bitcoin, you're not slave to the bank, you're not slave to the currency, you're not slave to the local politician that tells you what you can do and how you can use your money. Instead of having the central bank take interest rates to zero and keep them there forever, right? Bitcoin gave us a 60% return every year, because the Bitcoin interest rate is set by a global decentralized system of capital flows. So my company was able to save itself when we switched from Bitcoin, from the U.S. Treasury or the bond to Bitcoin. Our market cap increased from $1 billion to $100 billion. And our enterprise value increased from $600 million to $105 billion. And we went from a $500 million company growing 0% a year, competing against a monopoly, Microsoft, where it's hopeless, to a $50 billion company growing 60% a year that's part of the digital economy. So I feel blessed, and we are very fortunate, but that really motivated me with a mission. And what I realized is, Satoshi gave us a way out of our conundrum. Satoshi gave us a strategy that makes a small company big and powerful, that makes the individual more powerful than the state, that turns the power balance between the collective and the individual on its head. And the secret to that is this powerful worldwide network that puts the individual first.
Michael Saylor and Robert Kiyosaki are on the same page, and it's about to blow your mind. While the crypto crash has shaken the market, both of these financial titans are doubling down on Bitcoin. Kiyosaki has been loud and clear. This crash isn't the end, it's the beginning of Bitcoin's true potential. According to him, when the dust settles, Bitcoin will rise faster than anything else, and he's not selling. Instead, he's buying more. Why? Because Bitcoin represents a financial revolution. Saylor describes Bitcoin as the most powerful conservative force in the world, built on two unshakable principles: integrity and sovereignty. The fact that there will never be more than 21 million bitcoins guarantees its integrity, immune to inflation or manipulation from governments and banks. Bitcoin's sovereignty is even more radical. It gives individuals total control over their wealth, bypassing the corrupt financial system and middlemen. Saylor and Kiyosaki both agree. When the markets crash, Bitcoin will be the quickest to recover and hit new highs, leaving traditional assets like stocks and real estate in the dust. The crash is just the moment you need to buy more, because the next financial order is being built on Bitcoin. Let's watch more clips from the interview.
Bitcoin literally represents the conservation of energy in cyberspace. Satoshi implemented a protocol which is inherently conservative. If I send Bitcoin to you, I lose it, you have it. I can't create more. I can't lie about it. The thing that's beautiful about nature is conservation of energy. Conservative is based on natural law. It's based on the idea that if you just make something up which isn't true, you'll be punished. And the Bitcoin network represents that innate integrity and truth. So, you know, if you think about the world today, there's just an inherent force. There's a struggle between capitalism and socialism, between people that believe in freedom and free markets and those that believe in central planning and collectivism. And if I'm a socialist, I want to take away your guns and your money. And Bitcoin is money that they can't take away. Like, what freedom do you have if you have all of your money in a bank that can freeze it? What freedom do you have if you have your money embedded in a currency where someone can print 4x more of it without your approval and debase it to zero? What freedom do you have if you own real estate in a city where the mayor can put rent control on it or expropriate it, or the governor can tax it away from your family? What freedom do you have if all your wealth is in a business where the government can tell you you can't operate, shut down your pipeline, tax your employees, tax your income, regulate your product? And the answer is, you only have conditional freedom until the government changes and they just take away that freedom. And then when they take away your wealth, when they take away your economic power, they're going to starve you to death, and then you've got nothing. So Bitcoin represents putting your economic wealth in cyberspace. It's beyond the reach of the mayor, beyond the reach of the governor, beyond the reach of any nation state, beyond the reach of any other company that would do you harm. It is the first time in the history of the human race that you can bind economic energy tightly to an individual, to a family, to your company, and you don't have to ask permission to have economic wealth, to have money. And you don't have to live in fear that someone gets up on a morning and just takes it all away from you to power you down. And so if I am conservative, I want a family, I want a company, I want freedom. Well, how are you going to pay for it? And if you live in a country like Venezuela and the currency goes to zero, you're going to be begging for food next week. Wouldn't it be great if I could take the wealth of my family and put it into a network that no one can loot, no one can corrupt, and at the end of the day, I don't want to gamble my future. I don't want to take my life savings and gamble in the stock market. I don't want to take my life savings and gamble that the mayor of the city won't just take my property away from me. I actually just want to own the wealth. I want to own my money. And Bitcoin is a way for you to convert your capital into digital capital that will last 1,000 years. Your country will be, your company, your country, or your family will be wealthy for generations to follow. You don't have to live in fear. And when you don't have to live in fear, when you have economic independence, you can actually stretch your time horizon out, and you can build an institution, you can build your family, you can build a life for yourself. Where is the money headed in the future? The money's headed to cyberspace. Bitcoin is property in cyberspace. The manifest destiny of this country is to own cyberspace. And I think that President Trump understands the value of owning scarce, desirable property. If we go to cyberspace and we buy Bitcoin and the nation embraces Bitcoin, then all of the capital in the world, all of the Chinese money, all the Russian money, all the European money, all of the money from the 20th century, the money invested in a Siberian warehouse, the money invested in fill in the blank, anything you could possibly own in Africa, all of that capital is flowing into cyberspace. It's going from physical to digital. It's flowing from the 20th century to the 21st century. The 21st century is going to be a billion AIs thinking a million times a second. And what are they going to be using to move their money around? They're going to use digital money because they can't get a bank account. They can't get a credit card. I have to approve my wire transfers from my bank once a week. It takes about 20 minutes, and they ask me on the phone whether the money should move. My point we've been doing it that way for 50 years. And if you look at the way the digital economy is going to run in the 21st century, it's going to be a billion computers thinking a million times a second, moving assets at the speed of light. Bitcoin represents digital capital. That network is $2 trillion today. It's going to be $20 trillion in 4 to 8 years. It's going to be $200 trillion in 20 years. Then it's going to grow faster than every other asset in the world.
According to Michael Saylor, 40 million American businesses confront severe competition from trillion-dollar corporations, powerful banks, and governments. He claimed that Bitcoin provides a solution by allowing businesses to recapitalize and break free from reliance on banks, currencies, and politicians. Saylor highlighted MicroStrategy's experience with moving from U.S. Treasury bonds to Bitcoin, which resulted in a large boost in his business value. He noted that Bitcoin generates a 60% annual return due to its decentralized nature and international system of money flows. Michael Saylor emphasized Bitcoin's virtues, particularly its ability to place economic wealth beyond the grasp of governments and businesses. He stated that Bitcoin symbolizes an important change in the balance of power between individuals and governments, allowing individuals to own and direct their economic energy. Michael Saylor highlighted the value of economic freedom, as well as the need for people and businesses to safeguard their wealth against overreach by government and central planning. He also stated that Bitcoin is a sort of digital currency that will last for generations, serving as a haven for wealth and helping individuals and businesses to guarantee their financial destiny. On social media platform X, Rich Dad Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki voiced his worries about an approaching economic collapse. A giant crash of the everything bubble would impact gold, silver, Bitcoin, equities, bonds, and real estate, he said. If the price of Bitcoin declines, Kiyosaki intends to purchase more because he thinks it will bounce back swiftly. He blames fake money, fiat money that enriches the wealthiest at the expense of common people, and inequality in wealth for the disaster. Considering gold, silver, and Bitcoin to be real money, Kiyosaki recommends investing in these assets and implementing financial independence measures. What role do you think Bitcoin will play in shaping the future of economic freedom and independence? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Share this video and hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.